This is the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. What a tumultuous 24 hours it has been for Mavericks Nation. The hero of so many, Luka Doncic, will be wearing purple and gold in a Laker uniform playing next to LeBron James. It is an absolute gut punch for so many people wondering how and why this could happen, and why is it happening to this fan base? Why is their beloved Luka leaving? Well, we're going to talk about it. We want to walk you through it. We want to give you all the reasons that GM Nico Harrison gave, and we got a great show for you on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show tonight, and it will be absolutely Luka-centric. My main man, Andrew Cely, producer extraordinaire, has been putting this thing together. And Andrew, what's up?
What isn't up, Joe? And to be honest, I'm a little nervous now for the Stars and the Rangers, because back-to-back weeks we've knocked off two of the major sports teams with basically fan bases throwing, January 6th, for lack of a better phrase. And yet now all of a sudden, where do we go from here? We got a lot to get into, so let's get right into it with What's on the Show.
Here's What's on the Show, sponsored by NFM.
As you can probably tell, I'm at a loss for words still, 24 hours removed from the biggest news anyone has really seen in a pretty significant long time associated with the Mavs. Luka Doncic heading to Los Angeles to play with the Lakers. And while the Mavs did play today in spite of that news, we'll get into all of what it means for the Mavs' future, what we can ascertain from that. And we'll also take a look back at the top 5 Luka memories he made here in Dallas. Joe, that's what's on the show. Now who's on the show?
Sounds great. Looking forward to getting to all that's what's on the show. And in terms of who's on the show, we got a couple of greats when we talk about our Dallas Mavericks. We love to have them on the show. First, from my Locked On Mavs podcast, it's Nick Angstadt. Here's a guy who goes to every home game, some of the road games as well. He is so plugged in, so locked in. Nick, I can't wait to get your takes on some of this. And Saad, Yousuf, he has been covering this team, writes for The Athletic. He's been covering this team. He covers so much Dallas sports. He's kind of built into the Dallas sports ecosystem. So I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. And listen, it's Locked On Mavs podcast, Nick. So you get to go first. I need where you were when the news went down and your immediate reaction.
Every one of us that cover sports, we have people in our lives that don't know anything about sports. They don't know a specific team or something, and you find yourself trying to explain certain things to them and why they're so crazy. So I'm with two of my friends that are not super into sports, and I'm sitting in their kitchen. They're doing something for their son, and all of a sudden it happens. I look at my phone, and my friend goes, "Did somebody die?" And I had to sit and explain to them what exactly happened with Luka Doncic getting traded. And of course, everyone's thinking it's Shams got hacked, right? It's over and over again until the reports started coming in, and then it really started to be real and started to become true. And then I called my co-host Isaac Harrison. We just said, "Oh my God," to each other back and forth for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's wild, man. I mean, Shams got hacked. I think we all, when we saw it, we thought it, and one of my favorite things to do today was seeing a lot of the live reactions from people who were doing podcasts, finding out why they were doing their pod, trying to parse through it and make it make sense. What about you, Saad? Where were you? What were you doing in your instant reaction?
Yeah, I was getting ready for bed because I had a radio show the next morning, and we were planning to talk Cowboys, and we were kind of etching out our segments. And I actually got Shams' tweet, and I put it in our show chat. And I said, this is something we can just talk about just because it'll be a funny little thing. Shams got hacked, and it was like, this would have been so crazy if this would have been real. So I really I have the text messages, and I put it in just like that, where I was like, this would have been crazy, but we can just talk about how hacking has gone to a next level. And then we were like, no, this is actually happening, and this is real. And we're like, well, our show just wrote it wall to wall what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And listen, this is one of those moments where I do think we're going to remember exactly where we were when this news came down, because this is something that we're going to follow for years to come. So now I do want to shift, though, guys, from that immediate shock, the disbelief, the stunningly mind-blowing nature of what we saw and what we felt. I want to talk about your reaction to what Nico Harrison said today. Saad, what stood out to you most about what he said? And was there something that he said that you just didn't buy at all?
Well, I think the first thing that stood out to me was just his demeanor, and it was a little bothersome for the moment that it was. There was, just the way that everything started out, and just the playful attitude. I mean, this was like you said, Joe, a gut punch. I mean, for a lot of people, it wasn't just a gut punch. This was a dagger for a lot of Mavericks fans. And so for that demeanor, it just felt a little out of place. And, to be honest, I thought your question was probably one of the better ones about how, this all fits in long term. And say the long term is the next 3 to 4 years, when we kind of thought Luka Doncic was going to be here for the next 10 years and was going to be the foundation of all this, was a little bit gut-wrenching as well.
Nick, I'm curious from your perspective, what do we believe at this point from the reports of whether it was overweight, whether it was defensive related? Because it seems like everyone has the same unanimous gut reaction of this is one of the 5, if not 3, if not 1 best player in the NBA. Why are you letting him go?
Yeah, the answers that Nico Harrison gave, my response was it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. The reasons that you gave, you mentioned the conditioning, he talked about culture, Luka fitting into the culture, and he didn't add to the culture. That made no sense to me. The thought of Luka going into this summer, and he has 1 year left on his deal and then a player option. He would have to take the extension this summer. And if he wasn't going to take the extension, then the Mavericks are on the clock to make a trade. And so Nico kind of got in front of that and tried to make that deal before it was supposed to happen. And so that's the only one that I can kind of look through and see. But I'm still not buying it. You deal with all that stuff. You don't just trade a star player without canvassing the rest of the league, trying to at least talk to other teams, trying to see what you can get, trying to see if there's more. What I think happened with Nico Harrison, he got really enamored by Anthony Davis, the player. He's had ties with him for a long time. There's videos that have gone viral of him talking to Anthony Davis back in Team USA days when Anthony Davis was just coming out of Kentucky. And I think he got enamored with that, got tired of some of the stuff with Luka, the injuries, the conditioning, and all that, and made the move.
Yeah, no, Nick, I think that's part of it. I do want to be even-handed, though, because I do think that for a long time there was this reticence in terms of being hypercritical of Luka, although there were times he gave us reason to be critical of the way he acted, and the fact that I'm sorry, when you come in overweight, and again, some of this stuff will come out now, and apparently it wasn't just the calf strain in this preseason. He came in out of shape again. And listen, he is such a great talent. He is like this maestro in terms of basketball and this savant. And we all just kind of marvel at what he can do. But listen, he is 25 now, and he's been in the league for 7 seasons. And when it comes to that, I get it. He's young. But you would start to think that some of that would change. I was hoping at some point he would have one of those summers where he understood, all right, this is how I have to treat my body. And that didn't happen. Now, I'm not saying I would have traded Luka Doncic away, but I don't want to make it sound like he didn't do anything wrong, because that's not true. That's not true at all. There were some issues, and the conditioning thing is the one that, listen, you can't overlook that. The way he treats the ref, listen, it gets on my nerves, but I'm an old school guy, right? And I know new school in the NBA, it's a little different, right? I get it. I don't know if it's the best thing in terms of being a great teammate either. And you guys remember in Oklahoma City last year when he was incessant and wouldn't leave the refs alone and he wouldn't get back on defense. And one of the only reasons they got out of that series was because someone in that organization, and I happen to know who it was, got in his face in an absolute profane way and got him in order. Why does it have to come to that? So, again, I get it. I wouldn't have traded the guy away, but there are some warts, and we can talk about them, and they can come out, and that's still not enough for him to be traded, but I don't want us to completely overlook that. All right, my rant is over. We're going to take a quick break. I might have another rant on the other side of this. I don't know. It's how we roll on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We're back with more on the stunning, mind-blowing trade of Luka Doncic next on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
Today's headlines, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers.
The majority of the Mavs starting rotation took the day off in Cleveland, and it showed in a 144-101 loss to the Cavs. Dallas will next travel to Philly on Tuesday, and the Stars beat the Blue Jackets at home tonight 5-3. You think Stars fans are happy to have Jim Nill, two-time reigning GM of the year. It's an interesting segue, though, because there's been a lot of talk about the comparison, the direct comp to the magnitude of this trade. And the one thing I kind of settled on eventually was the Wayne Gretzky trade, coming from Edmonton, going to L.A., ironically. And he was 27 at the time, peak of his powers. Obviously, he was already heralded as the greatest hockey player that's ever played. Luka wasn't necessarily quite that tier, but the difference being, Wayne already had 4 titles under his belt. And Edmonton might have won one after he left, but they haven't been back for 30 years since. Joe, how do you kind of contextualize this trade and look at the macro of it all?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I immediately, just because I'm so football-centric, went to the Herschel Walker trade just because that was so mammoth in scope and so memorable for Cowboys fans, paving the way for those 3 championships. But if you go back further in history, I mean, you start to think about some of the things that the Lakers have been able to do with Wilt Chamberlain, getting him in a trade, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, getting him in a trade. And, you know, they all just love the sunshine. And the Lakers just keep getting them because they're this super team, and that's part of how they get it done. And sometimes it's hard to digest. You want to talk about hard to digest? At the very beginning of the show, I just looked at the Lakers Twitter feed, you guys. They had the arrival of Luka 12 minutes ago, and when Luka did the L.A. little hand gesture, that hurt. And I'm not even I'm a tangential Lakers fan, right? So that one really hurt. Question for you, Nick Angstadt. I'm curious about your thoughts in terms of what level of winning will it take for this trade to be deemed a success?
More than what the Lakers do, right? Like on the level. Like, I think this Mavericks team will probably be better than the Lakers this year and probably even next year too. The Lakers don't have a lot to build around, and they don't have any front court players right now. The Mavs have win now talent right now, but I think they got to win a title. And I think you look at their window. Kyrie has a player option this summer. Maybe he signs a 2+1 to match his deal with Anthony Davis. Then all of a sudden you have kind of like a 3-year window, and Kyrie's gonna be 33. Anthony Davis is gonna be 32. You got a 3-year window, and that's it. And so you've got to win a title in that 3-year window. And even if they win a title in that window, I've heard from a lot of Mavs fans that said, I don't think that would feel special to me because you just ripped my heart out with taking this guy who I've loved and cherished for 6 years, named my dog after him. I know people that have named their kids after Luka Doncic. Like, you just don't come back from that.
Saad, what do you think about that? One title enough, or will it take multiple titles?
I think it has to be. It starts with multiple for me because I think with one, I go off of what Nick just said. You know, and the other thing is Mavs fans in particular, spoiled by Dirk's journey of 21 years. We saw Dirk. We adopted Dirk. He grew up here. We saw the struggles. We went through 06. We went through the We Believe Warriors in 07. We went through the whole trajectory with Dirk. And so when he won the one title, it felt more special than the Miami Heat getting together, winning 2, going to 4 finals. It doesn't compare. The Mavs 2011 title stands alone because it's not just about the showcase. It's about the feelings. And you had that feeling with Dirk. You had that 2019 season where Dirk and Luka played together. It was the passing of the torch. You had all of that. And so all of that just went away. And even if they won the title now, say they won it this year, trust me, it would go a long way for the front office. But it's Anthony Davis, it's Kyrie Irving, it's Klay Thompson. All 3 of those guys have their legacies etched elsewhere, whereas Luka was our guy. It was Dallas's kid.
I agree, but I do want to add just a little bit of perspective here and think about the dearth of championships, not just in NBA basketball, but period, for North Texas and how few and how precious they are. I do think there will be some minds changed. Not right now. It's too soon. It's too soon. But I do think if they can win a championship, it will change some minds because it has to, because it's that hard. All right, we're going to take another break. But after this, we're going to have some fun. We're going to gamify this thing. I know it's been tough, Maverick fans. We're going to try and add some light and levity to it up next on the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show.
And now it's time for the Top 5, sponsored by the Fort Worth Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back to the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. Time now for the top 5. And initially, I wanted to look at like the top 5 worst trades in DFW sports history, but nothing's really going to compare to what we're going through right now. There'd be like 3 blank spaces to show off how devastating this was. So instead, let's be positive. Let's look back at the top 5 memories Mavs fans had with Luka in his time in Dallas. And let's kick things off here with number 5. Luka chases down the Rockets in his rookie season, 11 straight points. Lots of casual fans might not remember this. I certainly didn't until I was reminded of it. But this series endeared Luka to the fan base almost instantly. Nick, lead us off here.
Yeah, this is the first time Luka ever tried a step back in a game, ever, in that run. For me, it has to be Game 7 against the Phoenix Suns. There's just something about that game, something about the meme of Luka like looking up at Devin Booker that just lasted for so long. That to me is a huge moment.
All right, well, come on. He's trying to jump my list here. Number 4.
No.
An iconic internet meme is born as Luka and the Mavs demolish the Suns in shocking fashion. Thank you so much, Nick. We really appreciate it. West semis, obviously the meme speaks for itself. Saad, what do you think here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's when you really got the personality of Luka coming out. And I mean, it came out before that too, but just the aura that he had and the way that he played. And Game 7, if you remember, there was a lot of, I think every team in that series had won on the road every single game. And for them to go and do that and win by whatever it was, like 40 or 50 points, was absolutely incredible.
All right, number 3. Time for Luka's bubble buzzer beater in the 2020 first round. An iconic celebration, really saying he had that killer instinct on the playoff stage. Joe, your thoughts with this one?
Oh, my God. Bang! Bang! How good is that? I mean, this is when Luka really developed that killer instinct, and we knew that there was something different about this kid from the day he showed up. But then we started to see that he wasn't just this incredible talent; he was an assassin as well, and that was fun to see.
All right, moving on. Number 2. Last year, Luka Doncic scores a franchise record 73 points in a high-scoring regular season affair against Trae Young and the Hawks. He did it every which way, showing his full versatility. Saad, back to you for this one. What do you think?
It was a clinic, and it was so much fun to watch. And the Mavericks just also posted a look back on all that. And so, just reliving all those buckets that he had in all the different fashions. That was definitely a memorable one. I was hoping he could go for Kobe, but 73 was pretty sweet.
And finally, the number 1 memory. I do not think this is recency bias. Game 2 of last year's Western Conference Finals, Luka's game-winning 3 on the road against the T-Wolves, the step back, the dagger, the profanity-laden screaming afterward at the Stifle Tower. Nick, worthy number 1?
It embodies everything that Luka Doncic is about. The fact that it was against Rudy Gobert, the fact that he screamed right in his face, the fact that it was a step back, the fact that he was injured and was on the injury report the entire playoffs didn't matter. Again, with Luka, there's all the other factors around it, and it doesn't matter. He's still going to hit the shot in the clutch. He's still going to make it happen. This has to be it, because that put him up 2-0, and then they won at home, and then they ended up going to the NBA Finals because of it.
Joe, what did we miss?
No. Andrew, you did a great job with this list. This is one of your best lists ever. And one footnote, the win against Phoenix, my jaw is still on the floor in that arena. It's still there. It never left. It's always going to be there. I will never forget that. Incredible stuff. Great list by you, Andrew. Great list. And listen, great work by you, Saad and Nick. Fantastic stuff on what has been a crazy 24 hours. We appreciate you joining us on Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We got to take one more time out, but I'm back up with my final take after this. Take Mavs GM Nico Harrison. You are on the clock, and there's no draft involved. You are on the clock for this massive move to work out, and this massive move has to return massive results, as in a championship soon, because giving up on Luka Doncic's incredible future has to bring great success. I don't know if it will, though, Andrew. I got to be honest. I don't know how this is going to work out, and this is a career make or break move for Mavs GM Nico Harrison. Great job by you. Great stuff tonight, Andrew.
Thank you so much. I was just going to say, I can't do another weekend of this, man. Back-to-back weekends of late breaking news and trying to scramble to get everything on air and put together. I mean, come on, at least do it at 5 o'clock like they used to do. Make it easy. Come on, man.
Yeah, no doubt. We got to stop meeting like this, but we have to continue to meet on Ultimate Dallas Sports Show. We will see you here next week. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. We'll have much more on the big Luka trade throughout the week on WFAA. Good night, everyone.
This has been the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show, sponsored by your North Texas Chevy dealers. Together, let's drive.